Hello, hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to the Soul Food Book Club. We are here tonight to discuss changes, life changes when you do. And we have a beautiful group of people on Zoom. And if you're in the audience, feel free to type in your comments and questions as well. I'd like to welcome Karen Palmer to the book club tonight. And Shante Haklas. So glad that both of you are here. We may have Maria coming in. I hope so. She was going to try to get in with us. Both of these beautiful ladies have chapters in the book Changes, and they're here to discuss that with us. On Zoom, we have Linda Lemieux in Florida, Auntie Jean in El Paso, Texas, Charlie and Erica in Long Island, New York, along with Christine Elizabeth.
Hi.
And Kathy. Oh, Kathy, I'm so glad you're able to join us. Oh my gosh. You worked so much while we're on the book club, and I'm so glad that it's at this time when you can be here with us live on the Zoom.
Me too. Glad.
And we have Grace Isis in New York also, and Kathy's in Maryland, for those of you who haven't met her. So welcome, everyone. And yes, last week we did talk a little about Karen's chapter and just the book in general, but I'm so happy, Karen, that you and Shante are both here to talk about your experience and to see what those that are reading your stories have for you. So I am just going to step away and let this unfold.
Well, I watched last week and I watched what everybody had to say, and I saw some of the questions that you had, and I wanted to address that because I thought that would be a good way to start. One of the questions that really touched my heart was what Auntie Jean said. She said, she's such a nice person. She's such a wonderful, kind person. Why would anybody want to be unkind to her? Why would anyone want to hurt her? Mm-hmm. Well, the truth is, I grew up, came into this world as a beautiful little perfect, innocent child, and had all of my multisensory gifts. And I came into a family that was having some struggles, had lots of issues themselves, and they ended up, bringing those conditions and programs onto me. Not by anybody's fault. There's no guilt and there's no shame here. It's just the way that we continue generation after generation. And so the reason I feel that a lot of the things that happened in my childhood and my teen years was I got used to being punished. I got used to being punished and really, really hurt, like physically, mentally, and emotionally, by people who were hurting themselves inside, that didn't get help for themselves. And but they have now, and they're both, wonderful, wonderful parents. I love them very much. I don't have any bad feelings about it. I really feel that, one of the things is that we come into this world and everybody's doing the best that they know how with the awareness that they have. And so I took on the belief that, first of all, that I really wasn't worth much. And I took on the belief that if I just kept working at it, if I just kept being better at school and better at keeping my room clean and better at, making good dinners and making sure I knew how to make a martini for my dad at 6 and, being able to do things that made people happy, I started to believe that was a false sense of security. And it became a pattern with me. And it became something where I felt safe when others were happy. And I felt good about myself when I wasn't getting beaten. I felt good about myself when I wasn't getting verbally abused. And so I found ways to just keep things in that kind of pocket, you know. But you get to a point where you can't do that anymore, and it doesn't actually work. And so that's how I attracted those experiences. That's how, you know, when we believe that we deserve something, the universe is basically like a photocopying machine. And what I believe about myself, the universe doesn't discriminate. It just gives me what I believe about myself. And so when my grandma stepped in and said, "You deserve a beautiful life," I started really believing I do deserve a beautiful life, you know. And that's when things started to change for me. That big change. But, you know, I feel like there's such a beautiful opportunity for all of us to learn from what I always say, our wounds to our wisdom. You know, taking these wounds, I'm so passionate about working with children because I know all these children, we all come in with all our multisensory gifts. We all come in with incredible excitement and joy and playfulness and love. And we want to share that in the world. And we're taught to forget. We're taught to forget that. And we're also taught to conform, and we're taught to bring that down. And, you know, you're a little too much. Sometimes you're a little too much. Sometimes you're a little too happy. Sometimes you just get on my nerves, you know? And really, I want to work with children so that children feel safe to express themselves and to be able to navigate their emotions, navigate their multisensory gifts, be able to be in this world, but not of this world, you know? And so that's why I think, I believe that we all come into this world completely with an idea of our truth and who we really are. And then we start to create the movie around it, you know, and the people, the actors, the parts, they all come together, and we all just do the best we can with that knowledge and that wisdom. And then, you know, when we get to a point, we start to see that we can share that. We can help others with the experiences. And so working with children, especially, and my own daughter, being able to break the cycle of that with my own daughter and seeing her living her life with so much love and joy and being the beautiful being of love and light that she is, I just feel like, you know, that's a success. Every bit of it is a success. The love that I have for my father, even though there was a lot of forgiveness work that had to go into that, the love that I have for my mother, the love that I have for my ex-fiance who raped and beat me, the experiences that I have with all the people who came into my life that were mirrors of the experience that I believed I deserved. If I believed it, I changed that belief, obviously, right? Because I'm here and I don't have that belief. And I have that belief that we all deserve a beautiful life. Every one of us. We're here and we get to, I think we come in here to just have all the experiences. The dark, the light, the good, the bad, the right, the wrong, the villain, the victim, everything. It's all just this beautiful, beautiful soup that we live in. And I just think that as I have learned from these experiences, I have nothing but gratitude for every one of those experiences now. Especially now that I can sit with teenage girls that are exactly in the same boat that I was in, and I can help them to believe that I can be that grandma that says you deserve a beautiful life. So
Thank you.
Karen, how beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank you for addressing that, Karen.
Yeah.
I think it's still a problem with me that I always felt like I deserved what I got somehow, you know. And I always thought maybe if I were prettier, or maybe if I were better, or if I were something more like you were, helpful or something, then it wouldn't be happening to me. And that's kind of why I said that, made that statement, because to me, you're just so, and I know that you've changed, but I don't think you've changed that much.
Oh, not
you're
really.
beautiful,
I mean,
and
I was very
you're so sweet, and you're so kind, and I'm like, how can anyone hurt her? Me? Okay, I was flawed. That's the way I felt. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't feel that way anymore. But I guess that's what I was thinking when I said that. And thanks for addressing it for me. But I still feel that way. How could anyone hurt this beautiful, beautiful woman that I love so much?
Beautiful. Well, I would love to hear from Shantae. We don't hear. Oh, there you go.
Do we have? Let's see.
Yeah, I hear you now.
I just want to make sure. Yeah, I can completely identify with Karen and with Eugene, because I was in that same mind frame. Was if I could only do something different or say something different to have a different outcome, why can't I get this done correctly? Why can't I do it right? Why can't I do it perfectly? And that's the trick our mind plays on us, to try and control the situation. It was a lot of inner work that I had to do from the book, because I kept coming into, like Karen says, all these things were being attracted to me. And I got to, I believe it was July of 2014. And I just got to a point where I just was like, God, why does this keep happening? What is it that keeps this cycle going? And I had to sit with myself and take a long inventory because ultimately the common denominator was me. But it wasn't, I came to realize it wasn't like a flaw I had. It was the conditioning of the upbringing, that life was just what it was, and life happened to you and not for you. So I had to recondition my thinking and saying, no, okay, I can recognize that this has happened, but that doesn't say who I am or diminish my value or what I have to bring to the table. It's the inner turmoil of the person who is afflicting the pain. And so when I grasped that concept, then it changed everything for me. I stopped taking it so much personally, or that I was flawed or defected or unlovable, and realized, okay, wait a minute, that person is hurting from the inside on something that somebody did to them and subjected them to, and they're repeating the cycle with anybody else they can. And so when I got to that point in my healing, that's when everything began to change. My life, as Teri knows, is drastically different from when we first met. And it's been something else even for myself to sit and watch and unfold after doing my healing, or even the start of it at that point till now. It's just been amazing to see the difference. And it all comes down to healing, so we can transform our mindset to start attracting those things that we want. I never understood that. I heard somewhere, like, you are the Picasso of your life. You get to paint, you get to draw, you get to manifest whatever it is you want your life to look like. but it all starts with our mindset, which dictates our belief systems about ourselves. And so once I started grasping that concept, I was like, oh, I have the power to change this. I can close this book and open an entirely new book, not just close out the chapter, but be done with the book and create an entirely new book that doesn't have anything to do with the past. And so when I realized I had that power, I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. I do have this in me. And it's not something, I think what I struggled with, especially with my family, is as I started to grow and change. Oh, well, you think you're better than? No, I just want different. I don't want the same old thing. I don't want those cycles repeating for myself or my children or any future generation. And so when I was met with that resistance from family members, I had to send them off in love and light and say, okay, I love you, but for right now, it's going to have to be for a distance because this change is bigger than me. It's not just about me. It's about my children. It's about the future generations. It's about breaking this oppressed cycle that has been going on within my lineage for a long time. And so I came to terms with me being the one to break those cycles because it's hard. You're on a journey alone by yourself to be able to break those cycles. It's almost kind of like an essence of what some people would consider the black sheep, to go off on your own and break those cycles and not have anything to do with them anymore, and in essence kind of reinvent yourself in a new timeline for your lineage. And so it's family members don't understand that it's possible unless they have tangible evidence. And so with the temporary separation, now they get to see, but it's a lot of heavy inner work that you have to do to get to that point. And a lot of times it's shutting down the distractions or taking on other people's problems as your own to allow you the time to do the inner work that's possible. It's most humans will distract themselves with other things or other people's problems that they don't have the time to face their own inner work and do the work. And so I often got, well, like, why are you isolated? I'm not in essence isolated. I love you guys, but I'm choosing my time and my energy wisely. I don't have, already in my 40s, I don't have time to waste anymore. You know, I spent enough time doing that. And so it's just, it's been a lot of work, but it's been beautiful. I actually even completed from the PTSD from the marriage that you read in the book, but also from childhood. I completed a 12-week course for PTSD healing, and it is a fabulous course. I would recommend you guys to anybody with a counselor. It's literally homework every week of helping you rewire the brain and rewrite the story in your mind to create a different belief system to help you let go of the triggers that keep coming up. And so it's hard. It's a heavy process. Around week 3 and 4, it got pretty real, pretty deep and heavy. But it was definitely worth it. It was fabulous. When you first start, you write your ideas and thoughts on why the trauma happened to you. And at the end, you write it again to see the difference in the work that you've done from beginning to end. And so, and you can do that with any trauma that's happened in your life, you know, whether it be abuse, physical, sexual, abandonment issues, anything that is a stuck point for you in your life is what it's called. And so I look back now and some of the things I don't know how I managed to overcome, but I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to be the living example that yes, it is possible. It's not impossible. It's heavy work, but you will be, to me, in my mind, I learned that being the healthiest I can be inside and out, especially with my mindset and my beliefs, is the best gift I can give anybody around me, let alone my children and family. And so it's definitely the start of our talk shows with Teri, and doing the book has definitely helped change my life and keep me on that path. So it's been a blessing. Matter of fact, I had a conversation with my daughter earlier about doing the same thing. You know, she has a part-time job, but it wasn't enough for her. She's graduated high school now, and she went and got a second job, and she was looking for more joy for her and feedback and happiness, and that's not what she got from the first job. And I told her, I said, sweetheart, sometimes you outgrow things faster than you think, and if it's time for you to move on, then it's time for you to move on. You know, you get to create your life and how you want it to look, and it's up to you to make those decisions. You're not doing anything that's hurting anybody or harming anybody. You're doing what's best for your growth, and you have to be okay with that. Does anybody have any questions?
I would like to compliment both of you, and it's listening to it. I know the process of how you changed, but it's like, how does it happen when you're so low that you can't see above the level where you are? You can only see the floor. How do you look up to the ceiling and say, hey, I want to be there? And how do you figure out it's not what people are doing to you, it's how your perception of it. I just think it's amazing that you can change when you're down and out. So congratulations to, and we've all had things to deal with, but I mean, of course yours are, a lot more involved, I'd say.
As far as changing it, I think I also learned, yes, I want to reach the ceiling in my growth, or beyond that, but it's just taking the initial first step.
Right. And that's, yeah.
Whatever your heart, your soul, go into meditation, find out what that first step is for you. It's almost kind of like, I don't know I don't know what game it was, but when you take a step and it lights up, or even the piano. Remember Tom Hanks where he's on the piano and it's lighting up, the movie?
Yeah.
I almost see that for you, Linda, where you just take that first step, it lights up, and then it's going to lightly illuminate the next step. And then the moment it's going to pick up and just keep going for you. And that's where we have to figure out to come into ourselves and in alignment with ourselves. And that's why it's important to starve the distractions on the outside, so you come into communion with yourself and in alignment with source to know what step is next, or not even necessarily to see the next step, but it illuminate for you and come to you. Because all you have to do is say, look, I'm committed to my growth. I'm going to take the first step. I don't know what the next step is, but I trust that you're going to send me the right next step, or illuminate what that next step is for me.
Yeah, so thank you.
It's a simultaneous surrender and trust that the next step will appear when it's time for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
A big part of it for me, Linda, was a big wake up for me was when I read Albert Einstein's quote, "The most important question you can ask yourself is, do you live in a friendly or a hostile universe?" And at the time when I was reading that book, I believed it was hostile. And here I sat by myself, homeless in a car, sitting back going, what the heck did I do to deserve this now? Trying to figure it all out, and it was in that moment that I realized, whoa, just like Shantae said, I'm the common denominator here. There's nobody to blame. Everybody's gone. Everybody that I've been saying has been the problem is not here. It's just me and my dog now. And I got to do something different. I got to start seeing things different. And that was how the global kindness going viral began, because I read that and I said, okay, I'm just going to do this like a science experiment. I'm going to just try and see myself through the eyes of my dog. I'm going to try and love myself unconditionally, even though I don't know what the heck that is. I don't know what the heck that looks like. And I said, angels, help me know what unconditional love looks like. Help me know what you see in me. Because my whole life, I had my relationship with the angels, but as a child, they were an escape for me. As an adult, they were asking me to be a speaker for them, to be an angel speaker, to be a messenger, especially for the animals. And so when I asked that question, I said, all right, I'm going to see it as a friendly place. And as soon as I did that, as the moment that I did that, these strangers started coming up where I was parked and where I was staying, and they offered to bring food to me and my dog, just out of the blue. And I had no idea. And I said, okay, this is interesting. I'm going to keep doing this science experiment. Yeah. This is kind of fun. I'm going to start believing that people are friendly. And what I started doing now as an expansion of that is stopped looking at things as difficult and challenging and started looking at them as expansion and fun. And wow, what an opportunity for us to have an adventure in this, and that's how I got off the streets. It was the kindness of strangers. It was me believing that the world is friendly. It was me changing my mindset, just like what Shantae was saying, changing my mindset and saying, taking back my power. I gave all my power to everybody else. I had given it to everybody else. And when you blame other people or try to shame them or guilt them, you're actually giving your power to them. So, and you're not really supporting them. You're not supporting yourself and you're not supporting them. And really the truth is, I really have always known that we are one with each other. I've always known that oneness. I've always felt that oneness with animals, with nature first. But then as I got older and even started to trust the humans, it took a lot of time to trust the humans after what I had been through. Mm-hmm. But I know that on a level of, how do I say it? On a level of my true innocent self, the innocent true self that I truly am, I always knew that we had a friendly universe. And I always couldn't understand why people weren't generally kind to each other. I couldn't understand why people would kick a dog. I could not even comprehend the animal abuse that I was seeing. I couldn't even, it blew me, right? That's how I got involved with animals and helping animals, because I really wanted to support these animals and be a voice for them so that they had a voice. So, because I knew what it felt like to be abused. I knew what it felt like. And they didn't have a voice. I had a voice. And even though I was so terrified to speak because of all the abuse, I had to use my voice to help those voiceless. And that's what got me out of the funk that I was in, really.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's interesting that forgiveness came up, because that is the beginning of being healed. And Stacy's with us virtually. And she says, at times when I think I am in complete forgiveness, then something triggers me and I realize I'm not 100% there yet. And we're all works in progress. So be gentle with yourself. If something does trigger, if somebody's in the situation that you've been in before, it might bring up those emotions. But once you go into that forgiveness work and do that, wow, things just are miraculous in your lives. And I want to say I've watched both of you, Karen and Shantae, from the time this book was written to how you are today. And wow, it's been leaps and bounds with both of you. Shantae, I couldn't be prouder to call you my friend, my daughter, somebody that's so important in my life. And I remember that broken person when we first met, that it was just a lot of fear. And that fear, I don't see any of it now.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of fear. And again, on forgiveness, I think what a lot of people forget in forgiveness is, yes, we're to forgive the other person so we don't stay in the prison, but the main forgiveness is for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We forget to put ourselves in the equation to say, I forgive you. I forgive the old version of you for not knowing what you didn't know at that time, not knowing things could be different. That's huge. And it took me a long time too, or even for the decisions you made that you look back and you regret. That forgiveness for yourself is vital to be able to move forward. Because if you forgive the other person but you're still replaying the events in your mind because you haven't forgiven yourself for them on whatever perception of what part you had in it, it will still keep you stuck. And so self-forgiveness is huge and vital for your growth and to move forward.
It sure is. Suzanne is one of our regulars at the book club, and she's watching us in the audience today. And this is her comment. I'd love to hear others' input on this. She says, there has to be a turning point. I always made myself invisible as a child, and I still do it now. I was taken care of, but not emotionally. No love shown in my home. Being an empath, that's like a double whammy because I never understood as a child and until just recently what I felt. It just always felt like nobody liked me until I realized I am picking up unspoken things.
Mm-hmm. Unspoken things and learning, I think, in being an empath myself, a
You
huge
talk
part
louder.
of my growth. I'm sorry, for being an empath myself, a huge part of growth. I spent, like Karen, my childhood was people pleasing, trying to make sure everybody was happy. But what I didn't realize in that was I was looking for love.
Yeah.
I wanted love and acceptance. And being an empath, it's also important that we accept ourselves because we're different and we feel so left out in right field by ourselves and nobody else is playing. Because we're so far apart from one another as well. You feel left out, you feel abandoned, you feel alone. But another thing that is important with that is self-acceptance and self-love. And looking back in retrospect, everything I was doing and the decisions I had made in the past was because I was so busy looking for love when I needed to love myself.
Yeah.
I needed to give myself the love that I was searching out for. I didn't grow up in an emotional household either. It was nobody really wanted to talk about their feelings. Those hard things weren't talked about. It wasn't an open conversation to have. So that's something you can overcome too, is self-love and acceptance of yourself, and knowing that you're okay. You have purpose here. I tell my children all the time, God didn't have time to make a nobody. You were here for a reason. And it's up to you to find that reason out. And simply just saying, okay, God, universe, whatever label you subscribe to, send me somebody who can help me find my gifts. help me, with my purpose. What am I here for? And being committed to that. And so it's definitely something that can be done. Again, it's a process. And like Teri said earlier, it's just really taking it easy with yourself and a step at a time. And then when the triggers come up, not to look at it as a bad thing or I'm broken and I need more healing, but to look at it as an opportunity for healing, but in a healing to come home to yourself, to collect back those fragments that were taken from you so you can finish becoming whole.
I think that, a lot of the energy around love and acceptance, it's all brought into the fact that if you don't have it inside, you don't really have it to give. And if you can't give it, you can't receive it. And so that is, to me, what I think so many children need. And that's why I work with children, because I believe that if we can teach children, and we can, I've done it. We've seen it. And we have the statistics. We have seen it happen. If we can continue to do that for adults, so that adults are doing that for themselves. Because when we look outside for love and acceptance, it can't come back to us if we don't believe that we have it inside first. It has to start with, that understanding. That's what I think so many people who are calling them are using the label of empath, and it's another way for us to separate. It's another way for us to get into the illusion that I'm different than everybody else, and that's why I'm different, and that's why I'm different, and that's why I'm different. The truth is, we're all in this together. We all have different gifts. We all have incredible gifts to share. But we don't need to label each other. We don't need to put each other in a box. We don't need to put any kind of definition on ourselves. We're just beautiful beings of love and light, having some human challenges. And if we can just be gentle with each other and just, especially our children and the little ones, the younger, the 5, the 6-year-olds, when I see them and I see them being so hard on themselves, and I realize that this is going to be a pattern for them. If this doesn't get, talked about and shared, this could become very, very horrific for this child. And so I feel like that's one of the biggest things that we need to do in our world right now is, first of all, love and accept yourself completely and totally. And every time an idea or an energy that I feel is not a good energy or a bad energy or a negative energy, or, I shouldn't be feeling that way, I say, I see you and I welcome you. I rejoice in you and I love you. I love you. I bring it right into my heart and I say, I love you, anger. I love you, resentment. I love you, disappointment. I bring it right in there. And that is how we can teach children to do it as a game, as a playful way. Another thing I do is, oops, I projected again. Got out of my heart, went into my mind. Oh, baby, oops, I projected. Because when we project, we bring it right back to us. You project it out. You think you're getting rid of it, but it's like a total boomerang. As soon as you say it about somebody else, because we are one, it comes right back in your face like a pie in your face.
I'd just like to thank Teri for writing the book, and you, Karen, and Shantae, and everyone else for sharing their stories. And I mean, we all had our stories, and you were brave enough to put it out there and to, you know, make a change in someone's life. And I think you said it, even if it just touches one person, you know. So, and like there comes a point where we're like, I guess the turning point where, you know, we realize that, you know, we're in this dark place and we have to change. And that you were brave enough to know that you needed the healing and the inner strength to do what you needed to do. And I commend you all, and thank you, Teri, for bringing this great book to us.
Absolutely. It was the angels that brought it. They just used me to put it in book form.
Thank you to the angels.
Always thank you, angels.
Thank you, angels.
I'd like to throw something wild out there because you know me, that's what I do. And I don't know exactly what to do about it, but I've read quite a few of the stories so already in the book. And my thought, well, a lot of you know part of my story too, so you know that there were certain things in my life, but mainly what I've done reading all these stories is I've had this thought, you know, dear Father, I haven't suffered near enough. And I don't even know what to do with that kind of a thought. But that's the thought that my heart is like breaking. And I just feel like, you know, I haven't suffered at all compared to these people who've done these marvelous things with their life. And I don't even know what to do with it. I just threw it out there because that's an honest reaction. And I don't know. Has anyone else felt that? Kathy? Yeah.
I'm of the belief that one person's pain, you can't relate, and of course I cannot relate to some of the stories that were in that book that were right in front of us right now with Karen and Shantae and Teri. I can't relate. I can't even begin. Jean, I'm like you. I came from the typical Cunningham family, but there were things, and obviously they're in here, that have affected me in my life too. We can't say one's pain was worse than someone else's. You can't. We've all experienced something in our lives that has caused a bigger impression, something that you know what I'm saying? Does anybody know what I'm trying to say? Because
Yes.
I'm looking for clarity here, but I have a feeling, again, it comes with judgment. We can't judge one another on our past experiences because there's more to it.
I think we all come in with different experiences that are destined for us to have. For me, I feel that I couldn't be as empathetic as I am with the children and with the animals, and I wouldn't be the same person if I didn't have those experiences. And so, you know, I look at those experiences not as a comparison to anything that anybody else is going through. I see us all as, like I said, the web of love. I see us all in this beautiful spider web, and every strand is just as important as every other strand. There isn't one strand that's more important. There isn't one strand that's less important. And I think if we can get to that space in our society where we can see each other that way, not colored, not races, not sexual preferences, none of that should matter if we're all in the same in this beautiful spider web, and everyone is equal in each other's eyes. And I know that it sounds kind of Pollyanna, but I really believe we're going that direction. I really believe we're getting there. I do. I see it. And I believe that we can see things into reality. I believe that we can believe things into our existence. Just like I believed those negative things about myself into existence, I can switch it and believe the best possible versions of people and humans and see the best in them. That's my job now. That's where I feel my job is now, is to see the light and the love beyond the appearances, beyond what anyone is saying or doing.
And just because someone's life took a hard turn early on doesn't make anybody or any one of us less worthy of deserving a better life than what we have or perceive we have right now. Jean, you have been a big inspiration in my life, and you know that. I don't know what I would have done without your words of encouragement with my own son. Okay, coming from our background, who knew that my own son was going to go off into a totally different direction? I mean, yeah, like I said, I had some instances in life where things were not so happy, and it's not all like like Karen said, Pollyanna. I have had some sad times in my life, and because of my husband's upbringing too, he's had a rough life as well, but nothing as what I've read so far in that book with the changes. But at the same time, we are all deserving of happiness and of complete joy. And we lift each other up. And that is the best part about all of this together, is that we're lifting each other up. And we're learning how to cope with our little pieces of tragedies in our lives. Jean, you are a remarkable woman, and you are so deserving of everything. Never doubt yourself. Never.
You. But that's one of the reasons I brought it up, because this group, I feel so free to say anything that I feel, and I know you won't judge me. And I mean, I know I could tell you all the things that happened when I was young, and it would almost sound like they belong in the same category, but I don't feel that way. And I don't know. The angels were with me, and my divine father. And has anybody else seen orbs in Charlie's window? Is it just me? I've been seeing orbs in his. Nobody else has been seeing them.
I haven't noticed anything in Charlie's.
Did you notice some, Eric?
I do want to say one thing more about Jean. One thing more, Jean. Different age groups too see things differently. What my parents would have thought as hardships and whatever were probably more than just hardships. I believe that I might see more if I could get into the past lives of my ancestors. I think there would be more of the tragedies, the drama, so to speak, that my mom would have even admitted to. So I think it's age groups too. I really do. I think you see things different than somebody my age. You're about what? Maybe 20 years older than me, maybe.
I don't know.
He's
I'm
only 20 years old.
76, so do the math.
You're
I'm
what?
probably old enough to be your mother, hon.
I don't know. No, my
But-
mom was 86, so I don't know when she passed. So, you know.
Well, no. But you're right about
But what
that.
I'm saying is, I think there's different generations, and how we perceived our upbringing might be different from what the younger generations would see. I'm sure my kids probably think they were abused in some way. Probably Colin mainly, but you know, Marlene is wonderful, but at the same time, I'm sure they were like, holy heck. But I'm just saying there's different age groups, and I think we perceive things differently. So
So
you
true,
might have not
Kathy.
thought there was an abuse going on, but there probably was. And I'm only acknowledging now that I was abused. So, but it wasn't at the level, at least in my eyes, it wasn't at the level that I've seen and read in this book.
No,
Thank
I
you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone
And
who has
thank you,
put,
Shantae and Karen,
yeah.
so much.
Thank you all for participating. It's been a beautiful night. We are going to have to end. I just want to give Karen and Shantae a chance here at the end. If there's any words of wisdom that you would love to leave us with.
I can't hear you.
I've always told my kids that if it was only one thing that I could teach them before I leave this world would be self-love. How important that is. I think it should be something that's taught in our schools. So we don't have generations of this, because regardless of the age group, it's apparent that all of us struggle with self-love. And so that would be, you know, my word of advice to anybody is just learn to love yourself. And people ask me, well, what does that look like Karen said earlier, you know, and then I break it down to them. Okay, well, if you were to go on a date, how would you like to be treated? Date yourself, you know, and that's where you start learning that love. That's where you start feeling it. That's when you start coming into it, because I think, you know, like Karen said, our worlds are determined by what we think. So if we think we're in a hostile environment, that's what we attract. But if we're practicing self-love and becoming the essence of self-love, embodying self-love, so then when we show up in an atmosphere and an environment, that's what we're surrounded with, that's what we're attracted to. So self-love is very important. And so if you can just work on that, work on dating yourself, you know, along with the self-acceptance and forgiveness, it will solve so much for people. So much hurt, so much pain.
Thank you.
Let's see, my final word is just be gentle with everyone and yourself. Just be gentle. Realize that everyone has been through something, and just have a little bit of compassion and know that everyone's just doing the best that they know how with the awareness that they have. And if somebody has been abusive or hurtful in your past, forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. It's a gift you give yourself. You start by forgiving that person. I always say, give it over to spirit right away. Give it over to the angels. I can't take it on myself, so I'm going to just hand this over. And I always say, I surrender, I trust, and I'm so grateful. I don't know why this experience is happening. I don't know who this person is that has just changed into a different person that I thought I could trust, and that I don't have that trust anymore. But there has to be something more that I can't see here. So just keep being gentle with each other. Always be gentle with yourself. Bring that love, acceptance, and bring that, what you would give to somebody else, give it to yourself first and then have it overflow so that you are just an overflowing, beautiful vessel of love and acceptance. So that everywhere you go, people feel that love and acceptance. They just want to be around it. They just want to hear about it. They want to hold it in themselves. They can see it in you and they can remember it in themselves.
Beautiful. Thank you, ladies. This has been wonderful having you all with us tonight. It should have been a 2 hours.
Thank you, Teri. Thank you for all that you do, because Teri, you really do bring us all together in such a beautiful circle of love. And yes. I just want to say, let's all give Teri a hand.
Thank you. I love you all so much.
She's the best Mama P ever.
Yes, and you are all peas in that pea pod, and I love you with all my heart. Thank you so much for being here. We'll continue the discussion about changes again next week, and anyone that wants to come in and join and ask questions and make comments. And I know we didn't get around to some people tonight. Grace Isis, Erica, Christine, we didn't hear from you, but thank you for being here. And next week, if you have any comments, just bring them with you and we'll open it up for more discussion. Thank you all so much. This is Soul Food Book Club. We meet weekly and we're happy to have all of you in the audience with us as well. And Suzanne says, thank you all. So thank you for everyone that was here. And we end the show with Namaste, y'all.
See ya in a minute. Good night, everyone.
Good night. We love you.